Welcome to At Home with Music. In this video, we're going to analyze a famous hymn and take a look mainly at the tune and see what makes this a great hymn tune. And so the hymn that we're going to be looking at today is Be Thou My Vision. Be Thou My Vision is a traditional Christian hymn, and it's of Irish origin. The words are based on a Middle Irish poem that has been traditionally attributed to Dillon Forgail. Now, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's an early Christian Irish poet and a saint in the Roman Catholic Church. Now, Middle Irish was spoken in Ireland, of course, and also in most of Scotland and the Isle of Man from around 900 to 1200 AD. And so it's a contemporary of late Old English, early Middle English. And the best known English version of this poem, with some minor variations, was translated in 1905 by Mary Elizabeth Byrne, and then made into verse, where it rhymes and everything, by Eleanor Hull, and it was published in 1912. Now, there's a lot more I could say about the original language of this hymn's text, but I want to concentrate more on the music in this video. So since 1919, Be Thou My Vision has been sung to an Irish folk tune, which is known as Slane. And it is one of the most popular hymns in the United Kingdom, and also, of course, very popular here in the United States. Now, many hymns are not written like songs today, where you have a specific tune that goes with a specific text. In fact, if you look at an 18th century hymnal, you'll find that it's just a collection of texts. There's no musical notes in there. And in fact, the first American hymnal to join tunes with the texts was not published until 1831. So in the old days there, a music leader would select a text and then select a tune to fit the text. So this tune, called Slane, was used to sing Be Thou My Vision. And over the years, it became inextricably connected to that text. Now, Slane is an Irish folk tune and was first published as With My Love on the Road in Patrick Joyce's Old Irish Folk Music and Songs in 1909. It was a common practice to attribute hymn tune names to the place where they were collected by folk song collectors. In fact, the famous composer Vaughan Williams, he co-edited the English hymnal published in 1906, and we learned that Slane is a village in Ireland. Now, we don't know who wrote this tune. You see, it's a folk tune. It just was sung by folks. And other hymns have been written using this tune, but of course, Be Thou My Vision is the most well-known. So, what makes this a great hymn tune? Well, we're going to take a look at it. This notation is from musicformusicteachers.com, and the owner of the site, Dana Thines, has graciously given me permission to use it. You can go to her site and download your own copy. This tune is in public domain, and I will leave a link to her site below. By the way, Dana, let me know if I mispronounced your last name. But I know your first name is pronounced Dana. Anyway, let's take a look now at the sheet music for Be Thou My Vision, and let's talk about what makes this a great tune.
One of the first things you notice about it is that the tune is very straightforward rhythmically. You got a lot of quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes. Now, the thing about a tune like this is because it doesn't have a lot of syncopation, that makes it easier to sing. Many of the great hymns are very straightforward in their rhythm. For another example, I would play Holy, 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 just the first few bars, and it's every note has a word or a syllable, and it's very straightforward. There's no syncopation, so you're not singing or you're not doing something like this. Now that sounds kind of cool, but for a congregation, that would be a little bit difficult to learn. And so many of the greatest hymns, the melodies can be very intricate, but they're also very simple rhythmically, and that makes them a little bit easier to sing. So there's not a lot of syncopation. And if you're not sure what syncopation is, that can be defined as a disturbance or interruption of the regular flow of rhythm, a placement of rhythmic stresses or accents where they wouldn't normally occur. That's the basic definition of syncopation. And so with this melody, you just have your basic combination of quarter notes and eighth notes. Like most melodies, good melodies, it makes a statement and then it pauses for a second. So here's your first statement. And so you sung that first line, "Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart," and you pause on this dotted quarter note, and that gives you a chance to think about what you just sang. And then the second line has a very similar feel to it. And then once again, you have that pause at the end of the phrase, at the end of the line, that gives you a chance now to think about the first two lines that you've sung. And then the third line is a little more intricate. And also notice each line is starting a little bit higher. The first line starts on D, the second line starts on E, and now the third line jumps all the way up here to B, and this is the high point. And so you have this rise and fall with this melody. So we started here kind of low. Then it goes a little bit higher. And now it reaches the high point. Thou my best thought. And there's the high point. That's the highest note of the melody. And then it comes back down. And then the last line is somewhat similar rhythmically. You've got quarter notes, eighth notes, and then the last measure ends very much like the first and second line. The first line ends like this. The second line ends this way. And then the last line, presents my light. And so you have that common quarter, quarter, quarter dotted half note rhythm that kind of ties the whole thing together. And so you have this rise and fall. You have rhythmic simplicity, but yet a little bit of interest. You have this wonderful high point on the third line, and then it comes back for a landing, and it just has a very complete sound to it. Now, as far as the chords are concerned, what you can see here is some standard chords. If I play them in the left hand and play the melody, play it up here in my right hand. Sounds very good. And then we come to the high point. Now, the interesting thing about this is you can also play this tune with much simpler chords. So, for example, the first line, you don't even have to change. And then you go to A in the second line, and then G, and then A. So you can simplify this song as well and play it with simpler chords. And that works out very well for beginning guitarists and beginning keyboard players. But one other final thing about this tune that's very important is you can sing it with no accompaniment. And of course, folk tunes were often sung this way. They had to stand on their own without accompaniment. And I've heard this song sung, this hymn sung in church many times where the song leader would say, "Now let's sing the last stanza with no instruments." Or they might tell a congregation ahead of time, "We're going to sing the last stanza, and the piano and the organ or the guitar or whatever instruments are playing are going to drop out." And it's just beautiful because it is a tune that stands on its own. That's one of the marks of a good tune, is that if you sing it with no accompaniment, it stands on its own. It sounds complete. You're not missing anything. The congregation can sing along with ease. They can learn it and remember it. And of course, those are some of the reasons why this tune has survived for so many years and has become connected with this particular text. So that's my quick analysis of this famous hymn, "Be Thou My Vision." In the future, we'll look at a few more of these great tunes and talk about why these tunes are great. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That helps the channel a lot. And I look forward to talking to you in the next one.